I've been studying Marian messages for a few years. Apparitions have been increasing recently. The call has become persistent, and this makes you understand easily that Virgin Mary must communicate an important message to mankind. I have recorded other clips, which I've then uploaded on YouTube. In every video I talk about different topics, so I suggest you to subscribe to my channel and watch everything. Her messages disclose prophecies coming true over time. As a matter of fact, Virgin Mary had forewarned us of SARS-CoV 2019. However, fact is, this pandemic has killed Italians, Spanish, Chinese, Christians, Buddhists, Muslims. It's fair that all people know what Virgin Mary is announcing and what is going to happen. So, help me spread this news for everyone's sake. I told you, watch all of my videos. I'm not touching upon old subjects anymore, because I do want to give you as much information as possible within a limited time, since we are running short of time. SARS-CoV 2019 has marked the beginning of a big epoch-making change. Let's see the messages. Antonio, Apparitions in Salerno, Capua, 2003. My son, don't fear for the Asian plague which is spreading all around the world. The plague will spread on the whole planet, causing significant damage. And because of it, many borders will be closed for fear of infection. And the world will know and suffer serious economic crisis. Christians will be forbidden to receive Holy Communion, first in their mouth and then in their hands too. Who has time should strengthen himself now with the body of my son Jesus, because afterwards it will not be possible anymore. Antonio's message from Salerno is longer. I've cut a little, and we will see the next half later, because it touches on a subject to be explored nice and slow. Today we are going to look over the prophetic aspect. The plague in question is 2002 SARS. The message apparently doesn't match with what really happened. Let's recall the four prophetic elements. Let's see. The plague will spread all over the whole planet. The virus hasn't spread all over the world. It has caused 774 deaths in 17 different countries. The contagion has ended on July 2003, except for 4 cases in China in 2004 which haven't even been lethal. The borders will be closed. The borders haven't been closed. The world will suffer a serious economic crisis. The world hasn't suffered serious economic crisis. It will be forbidden to receive Holy Communion, first in the mouth and then in the hands too. It will not be possible to receive the Eucharist. In churches they have carried on giving the host both in the mouth and in the hands. Nothing happened, the prophecy hasn't been fulfilled. But on November the 2nd, 2019, we've had the first case of contagion caused by a new plague. The name of the 2002 one is SARS-CoV. The name consists of 2 acronyms. SARS, translated from English, means Severe Acute Respiratory Syndrome. COVID means Corona Virus Disease. Today's plague's name is SARS-CoV-2, just like the previous one, because they share the same features. It attacks the respiratory system with a crown-shaped tip, and it does not harm children. There is only one difference. The last one is extremely contagious and borders have been closed. Let's get back to the message. The borders will be closed. There we are beginning to understand its meaning. But let's see a prophetic aspect which is even more clear. It will be forbidden to receive Holy Communion first in the mouth and then in the hands. It will not be possible to receive Eucharist. This one at a later time. Eucharist can be received in two ways, either right in the mouth or right in the hand. First of all, we will see that the Eucharist will not be given straight to the mouth, so they will give it only on the hand. The virus has set off from China to get right away to Italy. The first infected towns have been Cremona, Padua, and Piacenza. Let's see this article. Following the provisions issued by Piacenza's prefecture regarding the coronavirus alert, the bishop orders, as a precautionary measure until further indications, the suspension of catechism group activities. For the celebration of Mass, Holy Communion shall be distributed only on the hand. Piacenza, February 21st, 2020. Right in the period of maximum contagion due to this pandemic, the prophecy is perfectly fulfilled. They give the Eucharist only on the hand, but Virgin Mary has always expressed her opposition about receiving Eucharist in the hand. Let's see the messages. Apparitions, Maracaibo, Venezuela. My children, during Holy Mass, at the time of Holy Communion, I ask you to receive the body of my Divine Son directly in the mouth, and, if possible, on your knees. Let's see this video. A really mind-blowing event. Professor Magnelli, do you know other cases like this one we've just watched? Or anyway a case of Eucharist transformation? I wouldn't say really like, because this one is really exceptional. Dr. Magnelli has stated it's an exceptional case. When it gets into the mouth of this Japanese woman, Julia Kim, the particle turns into body and blood of Christ. In 1996, in Buenos Aires, a particle turns into meat. It's been stored in the tabernacle for 3 years. In 1999, during a biological analysis, scientists are appalled. Inside the meat there was the presence of white blood cells moving around. That piece of meat was alive. Jesus is alive, true and real, and exists in this world. Let's see. Gospel, John. While I'm in the world, I'm the light of the world. Giampilieri Apparitions, Sicily, 2002. Always offer your heart in receiving my body. Do not grab me with your hands. I am nourishment of the soul, not of nature. Manduria Apparitions, Apuleia, 1995. I tell you that none of you should receive the divine majesty while standing. At least genuflect, as a sign that you worship me as your king and savior. You do not receive the treasure in the hands. I am the spiritual bread. Jesus, through Eucharist, gives his light. It's spiritual nourishment, and why shouldn't you pick it up in your hands? Russian scientists, using appropriate instruments, you can search the internet and type down Marian Apparitions, they have detected the presence of dark areas on our planet, right in correspondence with the regions where negative thoughts were produced, like anger, hate, resentment, revenge, frustration, homicidal instincts. For example, right in Iraq where 2 wars broke out. One in 1991 with the death of about 500,000 children, and one in 2003, an awful lot of death. Negative thought produces darkness which we cannot see with our eyes. Let's see the messages. Mount St. Onofrio, Apparitions, Molise, 2013. The seer has seen the Madonna laying her eyes on a vacant chair. Virgin Mary has touched with her index finger the tip of the back of the chair. Then, turning towards Michelino, who is the seer, with a very sad face, has showed him her index finger, which had turned completely black. 2013. I wanted to show you to what point the sin has come. Just barely touching the tip of the chair, you could have seen how much evil is in this earthly life. The Madonna has touched an object and her finger has turned completely black. Low thought, or let's call it sin, has undermined and sprinkled the world with this dark halo. We can link negative thought to darkness. Jesus, through Eucharist, gives his light. Thought, intelligence, in fact, the Holy Spirit is the spirit of intelligence, which leads to truth, to knowledge, to fulfill the Christic will. And you could tell me, but we see people receiving the communion, but they do not change at all. And you're right. Let's see why. Apparitions, Stefania Caterina, 2012. In order to be united with Christ's sacrifice, it's not enough to attend to Holy Mass, like to a simple ritual which you fulfill because you are forced by religious precepts. If the offer of your life to God and the sincere adherence to His laws are missing, and if your willingness to die and resurrect with Christ is missing too, I tell you, that your rituals are useless. Actually, I tell you that they are an offense to God. I address you, worshippers, who attend casually, but also you, priests and ministers, who often celebrate masses which are not worthy of the name. Repent ye, and mend your ways. On the contrary, when you give yourself completely to God, choosing to do His will beyond everything and everyone, His will, your participation in the Eucharistic celebration becomes active, and your being joins fully with Jesus. through the Eucharist that you receive. This way also my action in you becomes powerful. Thus you transform little by little until you become, yourself, living Eucharist. It's God who transforms you, you cannot do it yourselves, because He wishes you to be yourselves an instrument of salvation in His hands, which works in favor of the whole creation. It's been required the willingness to die and resurrect in Christ, that's to say, to get rid of your own convictions, of your own wills, and to put to practice the laws of the gospel. Feed the hungry, give the thirsty drink, visit the convicts, clothe the naked. So, as a result, your Eucharistic participation becomes active, because the light of Christ can take effect on the man, transforming him into an instrument of salvation which operates acting according to God's will. Carbonia, Apparitions, Sardinia, 2008. Keep yourselves in Jesus Eucharist. Purify yourselves. Let only Jesus be in your hearts. Only Jesus will. We've understood why the Christic light almost never takes effect on man. And why shouldn't you touch it with your hands? Because the dark halo which has surrounded has touched the world, and remember it's been recorded also by Russian scientists, there is the Eucharistic light and body. Let's say the messages. Quarantano, Apparitions, Calabria, 2015. Do not pick up his pure and candid body with your hands, because you would run the risk of dirtying it with your sins. Take it straight into the mouth, and my son will be happy about it. Pratico, Apparitions, Brescia, 1996. When you approach to receive the sacrament Jesus, beloved children, I know that the Church allows us to receive also on the hands. But children, how are these hands? Giglio tra le spine, Apparitions, Rome. Also approved by Father Gabriele Amort, 2014. Tell all my children that I would appreciate it very much if you received me on your knees and in your tongue as an act of reparation with the humility and love, and if the sacred species of my body were not touched by non-consecrated hands. In fact, St. Thomas Aquinas, one of the best theologians of the Church, has stated, "The Eucharistic body shall not be touched by nothing which is not consecrated. What is consecrated is the real body, the chalice, and the hands of the priest." El Escorial, Apparitions, Spain, 1986. So little respect for the Eucharist, my children. How many times did I say that both I and my son do not like that non-consecrated hands touch his body, my children? Do not pick up the Eucharist in the hand. Let's get back for a sec to Antonio Salazar's message, which I've read earlier. At first, they will not give you the Eucharist directly into the mouth. And so it happens, and we see it nowadays, in churches during the Mass. They give Eucharist only on the hand. In a second scenario, she had indicated, still in that message, they will not give you the Eucharist anymore. The Church is moving towards an epochal historical change. They remove the Eucharist. They've been giving it for about 2000 years. They used to give it even in Nazi times. If everything falls in line during this month, in this period, Virgin Mary should tell us the Church is going towards change, towards its big collapse, and since the host shouldn't be touched with our hands, she should tell us how to receive it. Let's see the messages. Trevignano Romano, Apparitions, Rome, 2020. My child, these are the dark times foretold by me. While everyone used to mock you, now they are afraid. I know your difficulties about the Eucharist, and to keep my son Jesus from being outraged, for those will not be allowed to take the communion in the mouth, equip yourselves with a linen handkerchief, and with it bring the Eucharist to your mouth without touching it with your hands. Store the handkerchief carefully, and always reuse the same one. It's nothing new. In the first centuries after Christ, the first Christian communities always used to put a white consecrated linen on the hand to receive the body of Christ without touching it directly on the skin. Right in this period, the Madonna has indicated us how to receive the Eucharist, and not by chance, because, as I said before, we are moving towards the change of the Church. Let's see the messages. San Bonico Apparitions, Piacenza 2020. This catastrophe there with you is going to end soon, children. It'll soon be over, as I have announced, but it will spread all over the world. Now remember, do not be afraid. Virgin Mary is always repeating, do not be afraid. Pray for all those who have lost their faith. The Lord is very, very offended. Here, the change of the Church that I have announced is all occurring, my child. All that is announced by the Heavenly Mother is fulfilled. Here are the ultimate changes of the Church. The plague will spread all over the world. Everything confirms the message of the Seer Antonio, the first I had read, and he had announced the beginning of a major economic crisis. If everything fits, in this month, in this period, the Madonna should announce the beginning of a great worldwide economic crisis. Let's see the messages. Trevignano Romano, 2020. Beloved children, look at what's happening all around you. The Church is collapsing, together with many of my consecrated. Earthquakes are everywhere. Viruses have taken their own way. The economy is falling apart. Still, your faith remains weak. But really, aren't you realizing all of this? Carbonia, Sardinia, 2020. We've come to the most terrible days of Earth history. My children, hell is descending upon Earth. You are going to be taken by surprise. You will get caught off guard, O you who didn't believe my appeals. Now, the economy will fall down completely. Now, there will be the economic disruption. What's good the money stored in a drawer going to be to you? Good only to light yourself afire, if you'll even be able to do so. Let it be well understood, it's all over. So let's recap and get all straight. Let's get back once again to Antonio's message, the first one I read. It has announced a plague which would have caused 4 prophetic aspects. The borders will be closed. They have been closed, and that's happened. The plague will spread all over the world. That has happened, and it will continue. At first, the Eucharist will not be given directly into the mouth, and that has occurred. There are going to be serious economic crises. That has happened, and it will continue. Unbelievable 4 fulfilled prophecies concentrated in this pandemic period. SARS-CoV 2019 pandemic. But we do not understand an aspect of this message. What was pointed out as trigger was 2002 SARS, not today's pandemic. Let's try and understand. Let's see an article from the scientific journal Nature. 2015. Laboratory coronavirus, laboratory, correlated with SARS, can infect human cells. An experiment which has created a hybrid version of a bat coronavirus, correlated with the one causing SARS. But we can also see a coronavirus license and its inventor. Coronavirus are produced in the lab, and they are well-supported and funded projects. In fact, on 2019 November, the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation has founded the Fulbright British Institute with $189,000, which on 2015 has designed and patented a type of attenuated coronavirus that said it would be available by 2018. The coronavirus are produced in the laboratory. They are very well-funded projects. There are also impositions of diseases which can affect people based on ethnicity, on human race. A team of scientists has compared 2002 SARS and 2019 COVID like two brothers, like two close cousins. Because, as we said before, they are very, very similar. Dr. Stefano Montanari has reminded us that, in confirmation of the documents I've just shown you, coronavirus can be produced easily in the lab and modified. Or we can also use the word mutated. Let's save this message. Luz de Maria Apparitions, Argentina 2020. You are watching with concern what is threatening mankind. A disease which has mutated, which soon you will forget without giving it any thought. But by forgetting the preventions, the disease will spread everywhere. A disease which has mutated means it already existed in the past, and then has been retouched, manipulated, mutated. By adding the evidence that has emerged, we can offer an explanation. 2002 SARS has been retouched, hybridated, mutated, and it got back to strike again in 2019. The four prophecies which were explained should have been fulfilled, apparently and logically, in 2003. But they have been fulfilled in 2019, because 2002 SARS and 2019 COVID are the same. The second one has been mutated from the first one, but they're still the same. Here's why. Apparitions, Vicenza, Mount Berico, 2015. Children, you don't know what is waiting for you. The previous crises were nothing compared to the one you will be going through. Now, it will be this event which is going to trigger any other event. This message relates to the great economic crisis I've just announced, and she adds that these events will trigger any other event. Question: what times are we living in? Scripture, Genesis 41. When 2 full years had passed, Pharaoh had a dream. He was standing by the Nile, when out of the river there came up 7 cows, sleek and fat, and they grazed among the reeds. After them 7 other cows, ugly and gaunt, came up out of the Nile and stood beside those on the river bank. And the cows that were ugly and gaunt ate up the 7 sleek fat cows. Then Pharaoh woke up. He fell asleep again and had a second dream. 7 heads of grain, healthy and good, were growing on a single stalk. After them 7 other heads of grain sprouted, thin and scorched by the east wind. The thin heads of grain swallowed up the 7 healthy, full heads. Then Pharaoh woke up. It had been a dream. In the morning his mind was troubled, so he sent for all the magicians and wise men of Egypt. Pharaoh is troubled by the dream. He wants to provide an interpretation. Then he calls for magicians and wise men, but they cannot offer an explanation, so they call for a young slave with the gift of interpretation. Then he starts talking. The 7 good cows are 7 years, and the 7 good heads of grain are 7 years. It is one and the same dream. The 7 lean ugly cows that come up afterward are 7 years, and so are the 7 worthless heads of grain scorched by the east wind. They are 7 years of famine. It is just as I said to Pharaoh. God hath shown Pharaoh what he is about to do. 7 years of great abundance are coming throughout the land of Egypt. But 7 years of famine will follow them. Then all the abundance in Egypt will be forgotten, and the famine will ravage the land. The abundance in the land will not be remembered, because the famine that follows it will be so severe. The reason the dream was given to Pharaoh in two forms, is that the matter has been firmly decided by God, and God will do it soon. 7 years and 7 years. Let's see this message. Extremely important, from the Apparitions in Cavarzere, Venice, 2014. There are 7 years of plenty and 7 years of famine. Afterwards it will be set all right forever, because my Son will come on this earth and will purify all of the world. 7 years of plenty and 7 terrible years that will anticipate the return of Christ. All we want to know is when the hard years of purification will come, in order to prepare at best. What will be the spark, the trigger? Apparitions, Antonio, Salerno, 2009. Dear children, there are going to be 7 years of economic crisis all over the world. In these 7 years of affliction, there will be a big struggle for survival. Here is the economic crisis that I have announced to you earlier. We've entered a cycle of 7 years of purification. Carbonia, 2011. The economy is going for a fall by now. Nothing will recover anymore, and this world will get into difficulty more and more, because floods, tsunamis, and earthquakes, and many more disasters coming from the sky will fall on this earth. Anguera, Apparitions, Brazil, 2005. Know that will be a great chaos in the world economy, and only the meek and the humble in heart will be able to survive. I ask you to go away from any vanity. The economic crisis, which has been announced, has marked the beginning of a 7-year cycle of purification, which will anticipate the return of Christ. Now, don't think Jesus will be back in 7 years, in 2027, or in 14 years, in 2034. Don't make this mathematical calculation. Anyway, we are really very close, and we are living in the times of Jesus' second coming, which have been announced in the Apocalypse of St. John, the hardest times ever lived by mankind.
If everything fits with what I told you, in the following years the situation should get worse and escalate. Let's see the messages. Monteberico, Vicenza, 2020. Can you see, children? This pandemic is more serious than you can imagine. I called it with its name since the first day. Can you well understand what you're getting into? During this time, prepare yourselves, because after this pandemic, there will be another one, an even fiercer one. You might need this pandemic as a training, so that the next one does not catch you unprepared. Children, pray. With the Maria 2020, major and serious events will occur on Earth, and they will keep increasing non-stop. Time is not time anymore, and what I've announced you during the years is coming. This is advancing, and men remain silent, but as mother of mankind I ask you to stay on alert in front of this virus which has sprung out of the hands of man, which is spreading through mankind. Do not delay, my children. This pestilence is advancing country by country and is spreading far and wide. This is the reason why I have made known to you the medicaments in advance, with which you should fight this disease and other ones by which you are going to be attacked. Carbonio, 2020. Golden Child, let this message be published to the world. Get ready, my children, the time of major disease caused in the laboratory by man is paying off. Beware of
liquids.
Beware of
liquids.
My children have suggested you to pray a lot, to get away from the world of things, and to live serenely in your homes together as a family. The powerful of the earth are providing for the extermination of humanity. They are completing their evil plans. 2020. This scourge is one of the many which are going to follow each other one after another, to try you until you will raise your eyes to heaven, recognizing that He who created you is the one true God. Repent ye soon. It all has already started. The fuse has been lit. Trevignano Romano, 2020. Children, hear the great trial of faith. As a mother, I tell my sons the priests, be always obedient to the Church, but be careful, because when the consecration of the Eucharist will be begun, so will my Son, the Lord Jesus. Know that your true faith will be rewarded, because I will protect you. Here, the times predicted are upon your heads. New diseases will come, where the cure will be hard to find. The earth will continue to tremble, harder and harder. Repent and be converted. I will be with you any time you will call on me. We are definitely living the times of apocalypse. But who is responsible for this situation? The virus has spread from Wuhan, a town where there is a top-level biolaboratory which happens to study deadly and highly contagious viruses. It has been built by China and France in collaboration with Chinese, French, and American scientists and WHO, World Health Organization, which is mainly West and East collaborate in this laboratory. In 2019 March, the National Microbiology Laboratory has sent a package of deadly viruses right to Wuhan laboratory through a covert operation. China, supposedly upset, asked for an explanation. In October 2019, the major prime ministers of the world got together in New York to the event 201 with the cooperation of once again Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation and the World Economic Forum in order to simulate a coronavirus pandemic situation, which should have started from Brazil and should have caused about 60 million of deaths. On October 15th, 2019, they sent to Wuhan 300 American military on the occasion of the Military World Games, that is the 7th edition of the Military World Games, a global military parade, and it was thought that America took advantage of this situation to spread the virus there in order to counter China economically. But all of the world has been scourged, economically speaking, because of this pandemic. So this theory does not stand. It's like there is a third intelligence who is handling all of this. This unknown entity, in one shot, with a virus, has attacked economy and Eucharist. A material attack and a spiritual attack. Who is the guy? Let's see. Luther Maria 2015. All of that I've announced you, not only at this time but since times before, is being accomplished. The economy will crumble, because by means of the economy the evil rules the world. Man subjects himself to the deity money, and the first thing that the Antichrist will do, in order to start his manifestation in front of all mankind, will be bring down the world's economy. Here it is. So that by subduing all countries, all people through economy, he will be able to keep them under his control. It's all one project by the Antichrist. He was responsible for this pandemic. He wants to bring down the economy on a worldwide scale. Carbonia 2011, World Crisis Without Recovery. The World Bank is on the brink of failure. There will not be any loan anymore for any country. It's the slavery that Satan has marked for you. Have you not understood yet that his goal is to destroy you? Your sarcasm is now going to be over, because you are going to watch your empires die. You are going to watch your assets turn into dust. And with your money, the money left in your pocket, that is, well, with that money you are going to light up yourself a fire if you're still able to survive. Satan wants to bring down the economy and the value of the currency on a worldwide scale. Montebergo 2015. A lot of events will follow each other. The first event is going to drag other ones along. Children, be strong, because it will leave nothing to you. Your money will not be worth anything. And why does he want to go this far? Let's see. Luther Maria 2015. Satan will attack man where man loses control. The economy will destabilize, and it will be the beginning of the general fall on a global scale. And those who are not spiritually strong will hand over their own lives to evil, in exchange for a false sense of economic security given by the microchip. And other ones will take their own lives because of money. Men will get caught off guard, destabilized, desperate, in the face of a total fall in the value of the currency. But the mass of people will be offered a great solution,
a new economic security due to the electronic money inserted into a microchip's memory installed under the skin. So what's the big deal? People say, but yeah, we got a chip inserted in our phone, they can check up on us. That's true. We are already monitored. Through our phone, they can track down our exact location. Via social networks in our phone, they record our habits, our trends, our fashions, our messages. But that's not the point. Let's see this video.
In the 1960s, Professor Jose Delgado took a normally hostile bull and implanted electrodes into its brain. Electrodes that could be activated by a radio transmitter. His objective was to see if stimulation of the bull's midbrain could short-circuit the rage signals, stopping the bull before it reached the matador. After the bull had recovered from the implantation and in mid-charge, the button was pressed. The bull's aggression ceased instantly. A clearer experiment was performed with cats. In this classic example, the hypothalamus, the rhythm maker, was implanted with electrodes. Could it be responsible not just for rhythms, but also for rage? The switch is turned. Then the switch is turned off. So indeed, the hypothalamus does control certain types of aggression.
These are Spanish Dr. Rodriguez Delgado's research on electrical brain stimulation. They have put a chip in a bull's head. During the charge, they have activated a sensor. The microchip has sent an electrical impulse and the bull went immediately still. They have sent an electrical pulse to the cat and he got immediately aggressive. They have tested this technology on a human being and he was moving his head, he was opening and closing his hands beyond his will. All of this in the 60s. Now imagine what they can do. Every part of the brain has its own function. For example, when I formulate ideas and thoughts, the higher parts, the cortex, is activated. When I feel instinctive emotions, like a fright, the brainstem is activated under the cortex. So, when I formulate ideas and thoughts, we are going to see a heavy electrical activity in the cortex. When I feel primitive emotions like a fright, we are going to see a heavy electrical activity in the section of the brainstem. When I feel another type of emotion, another area of the brain is activated electrically. The microchip is the famous mark of the beast described in Revelation 13. Will be able to send electrical impulses essentially the same as the physiological ones. In doing so, they will be able to control totally our will, our mind, our mood, our body, our psyche, which in Greek means soul. That's the problem, not the fact of being monitored. That's the problem. Not only that, stimulating electrically, for example, the hypophysis, which is a gland which regulates the production of hormones, they can stop conception. By stimulating the adrenal glands, they can foster an overproduction of adrenaline, which makes the subject excited, upset, aggressive, violent. Virgin Mary said it, who's going to put it on, he will not have any control of his mind. He will commit acts he never thought of before. That's a problem. So, coronavirus, economic crisis, money's value collapse,
microchip. It's all calculated and planned. Do not put it on. Don't be afraid. Jesus will not abandon you. Let's see the messages. 2015. The economic collapse leads to the fall of governments, and that's when the Antichrist comes in with a single government and the single currency. Economic collapse, and as a result, fall of the governments on a worldwide scale, and everything will be rebuilt in a single united government, which we know as the New World Order, with a single electronic currency inserted in the microchip. When this meticulously concocted and planned scenario will be built, the Antichrist will appear as one great point of reference. The coronavirus, the 2019 coronavirus wanted by the Antichrist, as we said earlier, has attacked at once the economy and the Eucharist. We can guess that Satan is planning to remove the body of Christ from the churches. Let's see the messages. Carbonia 2016. Be careful, children. This time the infernal enemy will use the most diabolical weapon he holds, which is to remove Jesus from his altars. He will remove the Eucharist, and he will leave the people without my body. Here all intertwines perfectly. Sister Annalie, 1987. The devil is doing all he can to abolish the holy sacrifice of the Mass. My divine mercy still gives my ministers the time to atone and ponder. Luz de Maria 2013. The evil will lead you to the Antichrist, to reject the word of my Son and prevent you from receiving the body and the blood of my Son. It will close churches and forbid my worthy and faithful priests to carry out the Eucharistic sacrifice. Maracaibo, Venezuela, 1995. I have already told you in the past that Satan wants to destroy the Eucharist. Here it is. We live in the times of the return of Christ. Soon the Eucharist will be taken. The second coming of Jesus, as I've said earlier, is anticipated by 2 cycles of 7 years. If all fits in with what's been said, the Eucharist will be removed during a period of 7 years. Gospel, Daniel 9. And he shall make a strong covenant with many for 1 week. And for half of the week he shall put an end to sacrifice and offering. And on the wing of abominations shall come one who makes desolate, until the decreed end is poured out on the desolator. One week. In the middle of the week, the Eucharistic body will be removed. In the first half of the week, there will be the presence of the Eucharistic body. In the second half of the week, there will not be the Eucharistic body. Question: how long is half a week? Daniel 12. From the time that the daily sacrifice is abolished and the abomination that causes desolation is set up, there will be 1,290 days. 1,290 days are exactly 3 years and a half. Half a week lasts 3 years and a half. 1 week lasts 7 years, easy.
Also in the Gospel it is written that the Eucharistic body, the Eucharistic sacrament, will be removed during a period of 7 years, which, as we said before, anticipates the return of Christ. Everything fits in perfectly. Maracaibo. The day will come when the Holy Gospel and the Eucharist will be denied by man, and they will be celebrated only in hiding, as in the time of the catacombs. Anguera, 2006. The precious element will be seen and desired, but men and women will be afraid. The Antichrist will act with great fury to destroy the Church of my Jesus. His biggest attack will cause a spiritual damage that has never been seen since Adam. The Eucharist will be celebrated in secret. It will be a precious element, but at the same time feared, because the Antichrist will act with fury. In order to bring a work to completion, the Antichrist needs an organization, an army, which will prevent us from receiving the body of Christ. Mount Berico, 2015. I want to see you all united. Otherwise, who's going to win will be the Antichrist. He's already among you. There will be an invasion of the black man. They're not going to let you get near churches anymore, and they will do anything to make you not get the piece of bread anymore, the body of your Jesus. The black men, the Islamic fundamentalists. The color is connected with the black robe. The Madonna already explained it in other messages. But it's difficult to think that this army can prevent people on a worldwide scale from receiving the communion. Anguera, 2007. The union of men with big beards with the red ones will cause a great pain for humanity. I am your mother, and I know what is coming for you. The Islamic fundamentalists will join the communist army, Russia and China, and they will prevent the communion from being received. But not only that. El Escorial, 1982, Apparitions, Spain. Communism has infiltrated the church. Jacaré, Apparition from Brazil, 2017. Jesus is very offended by souls consecrated to God, priests and other ones who are preaching communism. Sister Annalie, 1987. These are hard times in which my children assist the Red Lucifer, working tirelessly in order to abolish the Holy Sacrament of the Mass. The sects of communism have infiltrated the Church, and they have been planning to remove the Eucharistic Sacrament for years. The Islamic fundamentalists, the Communist Army, Russia, China, and the communism inside the Church are the biggest enemies of the Eucharist. We could even say that communism is the Antichrist armed wing, a strong tentacle. Luz de Maria, 2014. Communism is a strong tentacle of the Antichrist. Humanity has been indifferent to communism and has allowed it to advance surreptitiously. The best and most intelligent journalists who seek the truth have studied the files about American laboratories. They found the patents. There is a patent that means the virus is being created. They have been keeping an eye on the whereabouts of the American military who have arrived in Wuhan right before the pandemic outbreak. They came to a conclusion, an insight. America has spread the virus. Carbonia 2020. The cursed serpent fools you all the time, and you are not able to read his games.
You think you are cunning, but you don't know whom you're dealing with. My children, Satan is the father of cunning. No one has understood his plans. But by reading carefully Virgin Mary's messages on a worldwide scale, we brought to light two elements. Coronavirus is preparing a world scenario favorable to the appearance of the Antichrist. 2. Communism is an armed wing, a tentacle of the Antichrist. So Virgin Mary should say in her messages that it has been China and not America to spread the virus. Let's see. Trevignano Romano. Pay attention to the date, September 28th, 2019, a month and a half before the COVID-2019 outbreak. My beloved children, pray, pray, pray for peace and for what awaits you. Pray for China, because new diseases are coming. Here it is. Everything is ready for unknown bacteria to influence the air. And this underscores the fact that this virus has been created. And it was all a plan. Pray for Russia, because the war is coming. Pray for America, it's already in a great decline. Carbonia. This one also in September 2019. America is at its decline. China claims to rule the world and will launch its infectious germs to humanity. Know that prayer can mediate all events, so ask aid from the heavens. It was China, under the will of the Antichrist, which spread the virus. Communism works in favor of the Antichrist. Times are getting hard. How can we prepare? Let's go back to Genesis 41. The young slave had explained to Pharaoh the meaning of the 7 years dream. At the end of his explanation, he is given some advice. Genesis 41. And now let Pharaoh look for a discerning and wise man, and put him in charge of the land of Egypt. Let Pharaoh appoint commissioners over the land. Take a fifth of the harvest of Egypt during the 7 years of abundance. They should collect all the food of these good years that are coming, and store up the grain under the authority of Pharaoh to be kept in the cities for food. This food should be held in reserve for the country, to be used during the 7 years of famine that will come upon Egypt, so that the country may not be ruined by the famine. The young man has advised the Pharaoh to choose a guide, a wise and intelligent man. And in this time there are some guides described in Revelation 11. They will be dressed in sackcloth. That is, ordinary people, simple, normal people who say the truth. He is also advised to stockpile food precisely to be ready for the 7 years of famine. As we said earlier, we are living right now the times described in Genesis 41. So, continuing this train of thought, the Madonna in this period, this month, should indicate us through her messages to stockpile food. Carbonia 2020. All that has been planted by man will wither. All the harvest will be lost. Provide to gather some supplies in order not to end up without anything. If you think God will multiply all goods. Luz de Maria 2020. It's a virus which has been very well thought for the purpose of infecting the largest number of people, so you must be farsighted and take the necessary precautions. Humanity has received instructions from the heavens about natural remedies which will help you to keep this disease under control. That's very important. But you easily forget what you've been given by the heavens. I call you to repentance, to be brave as God's children, to hoard food. See, right during this time, she advises to hoard food. Do it. Do not underestimate these messages. Also, stock up on natural seeds and medical herbs. Mentioned in Lucy Maria's messages, look at the site. They will help to recover from the incoming sicknesses. In the toughest times, when people will starve the most, the angels will multiply the essential goods, but only for the people who are going to enter the work, the battle against the forces of evil, as has been requested by Jesus in his messages. Carbonia 2020. Be strong in the final battle, because here and now we are really going to be in for a battle. Stay in the love of Christ the Lord. Stand together in this call. Carry forward this work with everything you've got. This is important. 2020. The Red Dragon has set his evil plan into effect. It will deceive the world. Death is around the corner, O people. Put yourself in me, because only me you will have salvation. The devil is working big, is preparing the entrance of the Antichrist. You will get to know the face of the devil, O people. The Red Dragon is exactly communism, China, and it's deceiving the whole world. Because, unbeknownst to anyone, it's preparing the manifestation of the Antichrist. Is the most powerful man on earth. He observes the scenario of this world and moves the pawns as he pleases. In fact, about coronavirus, the laboratories are created and run by his intelligence. It all starts from this pandemic, economic crisis, food shortage, stressed population, riots, wars, persecution of the church, persecution of the consecrated people. The Eucharist will be celebrated in secret, loss in the value of money, New World Order, microchip. Then we will see the face of the Antichrist. That's important. Rome will be his headquarters. 2019 SARS-CoV is part of a larger project whose purpose is to lead humanity to degeneration and despair, to make sure that they accept and glorify Satan, a man in the flesh who will manifest himself and at the same time will propose solutions for the problems that he himself created. Dear friends, in these years we'll have to fight with all our might, with all our effort, with all our will, with all means available to us, in order to awaken as many souls as possible, to make sure that they don't fall into this deadly web made by the Antichrist. Our weapon will be the truth. So I ask you, spread this video. And above all, I ask for a translation of this video in several languages, in Japanese, French, Spanish, German, Russian, Chinese, Arabic, any language. All of the world must know. This pandemic has left a very distinct signature, the Antichrist. We exposed him, so we must unite and fight him. This is the appeal I make, and I hope and wish for it to spread to the whole world, by any means, in any way.
Dear friends, I'm done. Thank you very much. See you next time. Thanks.